Hello, how are you?
Lovely to see you. Did you meet Sean before?
I don't think so.
No,
Hi, Sean.
not. Hi, how are you doing?
Good. All the way from Australia.
We need this background. It's like a Rise logo.
I know. What's happening in Australia at the moment? Isn't there an election?
Oh, look, everything's happening. You know, all the big news. Sonia, hot press from Australia. Beautiful chairman Dan Andrews, the Victorian Premier, has cancelled the Commonwealth Games. So it's yeah, go figure that. Apart from war, it's never been cancelled before in the history of the games. And Dan was all locked in. And last week, a big announcement. Dan said, we cannot afford it. We are out. So
wow.
hot off the press. Hot off the press.
Wow.
Wow. For those who don't know, this is Adrian Hanks. He's a coach, he's a psychotherapist, he's a mentor. And most importantly, as I've said, we went to primary school together. Adrian, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really, really good to see you. Lovely to see you. In fact, you're going to be traveling this year, aren't you? You're going on a happy birthday teaching tour. Tell us about it.
I am. So look, I'm turning 60 years old. Hence the picture behind me. I'm doing a big charity run next month, my 60th birthday. I'm running 60 kilometers to raise money for an orphanage in Africa. And I'm going to be in Africa in November. So I'm leaving here in September, touring the UK and Europe. And I will be running workshops and giving presentations back in Cirencester, Sonia, our old haunting place, our childhood place. So a lot of my work is about helping people get into their purpose and passion. So I thought, well, while I'm on the road, how about we run some workshops and help people to have a look at and explore what their purpose and passion is in life, just like you and I have done. I think, Sonia, you know, you're right on purpose and have been for many years, like myself. And I think when people learn that sense of purpose, they know why they get out of bed in the morning, and what a great feeling that is.
100%.
And probably, you know, for you too as well, Sean, you know, getting on purpose, I think, is one of the most important things we can do in life.
This show gave me purpose.
Support others, you know? Yeah, absolutely.
One of my neighbours, I was talking in the street the other day, and we were talking exactly about this conversation. And he said he really envies people who know why they're here. He said, I'm in my 50s. I don't know. I still have. And I said, do not beat yourself up about it. It's Adrian, you're going to say something. What? I
am. You know what? I have this conversation always, Sonia. And when my clients come to see me, they say, Adrian, I do not know what my purpose is. And within an hour, we find their purpose. What beautiful. I believe is what stops people getting in their purpose is self-doubt and fear. And they are the two key things that stop. Everybody has, whether that's being a great mom, great dad, writing a book, or being a lollipop lady, you know, or man, or whatever gender. You know, I believe everybody has a sense of purpose. Yeah. But most people are so fearful or doubtful about stepping into it. So my job as a psychotherapist is to, you know, beat them to a pulp until they jump into their purpose. That's how it goes.
How do you find your purpose, though?
Yeah.
How do you? I mean, how do you identify it? I do know my purpose, as you say, but if you don't know, how do you begin to identify it?
The soul knows, Sonia. That's always my answer. The brain doesn't know, but the soul always knows what we're really here for. And if people delve deep enough, if they have the courage to deep dive into that space, they will come out and go, wow, I'm on purpose. I know what I want. And then, of course, it's helping people to continue that journey to stay on purpose, because, you know, all the little voices come in your head. You're not good enough. You're not big enough. You're not tall enough. You're not rich enough. You're not the right color, blah. That's what stops us. All that negative, you know, and the education system has a lot to do with that, because they don't help people. You know, you have to be a rebel, Sonny, don't you, to get into your purpose, like you and I. You know, we were great rebels, and you have to break the system sometimes to find your purpose.
Oh, you need to put that on a t-shirt.
Shin says, I need an Adrian right here. You going to France, Adrian? Shin's in France. I don't know if your tour encompasses France. I'm not sure.
No, but look, it's only a ferry ride to the UK to come and do one of my workshops with you.
Yes, indeed. Nice.
Jump on that ferry and, you know, come to good old Cirencester and have a workshop.
Luggerbug says, we're here to learn and enjoy our 3D experience, find love, and all the rest follows. Christine says, I've just recently, over 60, found my purpose. Congratulations. I do think it's a cause of celebration. Actually, as Kerry points out, fear paralyzes. Two main motivating factors in our world or in our lives are love and fear, right?
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yep. And they're the polar opposites. You either get into fear or you get into love or courage. It's yeah.
Choose love.
But sure. The only thing is, I'd say to you, Matt, get a group together and I'll come to France. Seriously, that's how I operate. I get a coordinator, they organize me, I turn up, and we run a workshop, and we all get rich and famous. I love it.
I mean, as you put, there's nothing wrong with getting rich and famous, by the way. I believe if it's a good purpose, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not religious, but I have read as much of the Bible as I can, and I don't see anything in there as one religious text which forbids us to accumulate wealth. I don't see any. Because it's not money is evil. It's the love of money is the root of all evil. That's exactly the difference, right?
And it's not anti-freedom if some people have to make a career out of or do things to be able to continue giving away other things for free.
Right.
It's like, when did it become anti-freedom to actually make a living?
Yeah.
It's a funny old world.
Yeah,
but I think a lot of the time these things, that's a fear thing, isn't it? It is. It's like, it's about being judged there, for example. Some people are worried about following their purpose because they're fearful of being judged, of being selfish or whatever. How do you overcome that? The idea, some people are like, oh, I've got children and I've got pets and I've got a job and I've got, and whatever. How do you overcome the fact that people have to take time for themselves, don't they?
Absolutely. I call it me time. And when I work with my clients, I say, you've got to find your me time. For me, I love to go bush. I take my didgeridoo and off I go for a few days, a couple of times a year in the bush, just me, and I have me time. And it's so important. During the day, I have me time. Because if we don't, we get exhausted, we get burnout, and then we get sick. And then really we're useless for everybody.
And you start resenting people, or you start resenting being around people if you're not refilling your social battery or when it gets drained or whatever. But my granddad had a saying, and it was, no man is an island. And it was about finding your purpose. And he was like, he'd always say it to me when I was going a bit crazy. He'd be like, no man's an island. Don't sit there on your own. You'll go crazy. Get out there, find your purpose.
We dedicated last week's show to Sean's granddad, who had his sending off on Friday, didn't he, Sean? It was amazing. He's a former firefighter, and there was like a guard of honor. It was just absolutely beautiful to see it. Well done, Sean. You did brilliantly there.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
Well done,
condolences and peace.
No, no. That's He taught me how to find my purpose. He wouldn't let me sit on my laurels.
Wonderful. What a legacy, though. What a legacy. Some of the way that you outline it, Adrian, you say purpose, direction, passion, vocation, holistic health. I think the last one is really interesting, because we are taught to look at health as if like it's all separate, as if the body isn't connected, but we have to look at it holistically, don't we?
Absolutely. Let's be clear about it. The pharmaceutical industry is not a health industry. It's a sickness industry. They want us to be sick because they make money out of us. So the more we get into our own sovereignty, our own power, the less we are reliant on big pharma to give us, an ill for every pill or pill for every ill. And we have to just stand in that place. And the more the more we're in our purpose, the healthier we are, the immune system kicks in. I spend a lot of time in Africa and, with sangomas and medicine men. And if you got an illness or go to them, the first thing they will say is, are you following your purpose and passion? And if not, that's why you're sick. Like, it's really clear to them.
And really that is the thing. We complicate it, don't we, in the Western world, because we have so much. We find ourselves, gossiping about soap characters, for example. This has to be deliberate diversion. It has to be.
100%. 100%. Like I always say, we're 60,000 years of the race, and we're still watching The Simpsons. Come on, let's. It sort of says it all, really, doesn't it?
I'm interested to know
what happened to humanity.
Yes, exactly. Although I loved The Simpsons when it first came out. The old hat now, but tell us about some of the techniques that you use because you say it's a blend of coaching and mentoring and counseling and psychotherapy. So if you had somebody come to you and say, I've spent all my life doing for everybody else, which is a common refrain that a lot of mothers and fathers feel, fathers are still pushed into this role of going out, being the hunter-gatherer. Mothers are still pushed into the role of being the hunter-gatherer and taking care of the home. And so people resent that and are frustrated. So how do you start to break those chains for them?
Yeah. Well, there's two options. They can work with me for several months and we really go behind it, or they get what I call one slap therapy. I mean, it's
One slap.
one slap therapy, you know, like just get on with it. But no, in all seriousness, what I do, I look at people's fears, their doubts, their stories, their habits, you know, the subconscious mind of what they're telling themselves every single day. Because most people wake up with a story. And sometimes that story is 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and people still keep living that story. So what we have to do is change the subconscious dialogue in terms of, rather than I can't, I will. You know, rather than I'm not able, I am able. So we have to firstly change the dialogue. And then what I do, Sonia, I have a little bit of a process where I get people to imagine what I call their future potential self. I get them to give it a little bit of a name. So, you know, Master Adrian, you know, Grandmaster Adrian. And then I have a few power words that I use, like an affirmation. And then a power stance, a little bit like a karate stance.
Nice.
And that gets practice at least 3 times a day to help to change the subconscious patterning and also the emotional patterning in the body, and also from a physiological perspective, because we change the blood count in the body from, you know, red and white blood cells can change in 24 hours when we empower ourselves.
That's
our
beautiful.
immune system gets boosted. You know, you can do blood analysis and prove, you know, this proven in the therapy. So it's about empowering people to get into what I call, you know, their future potential self or their purpose. And we do that, you know, breaking the old story.
Yeah, it's a bit like reprogramming, but then also it's got a bit of manifestation in there, and it's like, and I saw something the other day about explaining manifestation in it like a really good way, and it was like, imagine you won the lottery now and it was 100 million quid, how excited or whatever you'd be, and how much you know you could achieve and change the world. But then the lottery turned around to you and said, you can't get the money for 30 days. How would you live for the next 30 days, knowing that you were still going to get the 100 million? And having that, believing it so much, by the time you hit 30 days, you check your bank, you probably got 100 million on the way in because you believed it that much. And it's removing that imposter syndrome that stops us all from achieving, getting to that end goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that imposter syndrome comes up so much in the therapy work.
That is key.
Yep. Yeah. I'm working with a broker at the moment who, you know, he's a brilliant broker, but his idea of that imposter syndrome, you know, never going to be good enough. So what I've done, I've got him to write down his credentials of what he believes he's achieved in life, so that he can recognize it. Because it doesn't matter whether I say he's a good man, whether somebody else, we have to believe it ourselves. And this is the bottom line. You know, we've got to get into our own self-belief.
That is hard if you come from an abusive background. And hardly anybody seems to have the ideal childhood where everything is put in place and the foundation is perfect. And I mean,
I feel like an imposter here next to you.
Do you?
Next to you, of course.
Why?
You're a bloody incredible journalist who's got decades and decades of like.
Oh, but you're not trying to be a carbon copy of me. You're being Sean, who brings his own experience, and your experience is completely different.
Sean,
and it's
I am still winging it. Trust me. To all the people.
Sean, put your hand out like this, Sean. Put your hand out like this. Take the other hand and slap it.
I beat you too. I knew that was coming.
Yes.
Stop it.
Yeah,
stop it.
Absolutely. Because that isn't the thing is the whole reason that Sean was here was because he offers something different to me. We don't want a carbon copy of me. That would just irritate the life out of me. Right?
Yeah. Love your energy, Sean. Love it, brother.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fake it till you make it.
Not an imposter at all. What's this? Let's see. Well, the word is a playground. The world is a playground for us, says Kerry. My self-belief is real strong, but it seems to crush people around me. So it's like I've put shade onto my light, not to burn people, says Shin. That is, I've done that, right? I've done that. You dim your own light. That's not good, is it?
No, it's not. Look, Marianne Williamson, you know, great poetess from America. She's got a beautiful piece of prose, and she said, you know, it's not our light we're afraid of, you know, it's the darkness. Sorry, it's not the darkness we're afraid of, it's the light we're afraid of actually shining.
Right.
And it's so true. You know, the fear of shining, the fear of breaking out of the family system or the social system. I mean, to some degree, Sonia, you and I have done it. We've broken out of that sire ancestor sort of mold, sort of 40, 50 years ago, and gone off and done some great things on the planet. Because you have to break the mold. You've got to step into your light.
Yes.
You have to, yeah. And it's hard work. We get
is hard
crushed
work.
and burnt, and like a moth, we keep going back and into the light and getting burnt and frazzled and going back in again.
I mean, but you do have to have self-belief, and that can take another quarter of a lifetime. I deal with a lot of survivors and people who have been through heinous childhood experiences, and some of them are still reliving those childhood experiences. So you deal with people who have been through trauma as well, presumably.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, I actually run a foundation called the Blue Wren Foundation Australia, and it's and I've got a program called Line in the Sand, and I help men not to step over the line in the sand in relationships, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. So we get a lot of, I do a lot of couples work with couples who want to stay together, but there's a bit of DV, the violence, but we work through it and work with the men to stop the physical, emotional, mental, or financial violence. So that's a charity I run here in Australia called the Blue Wren Foundation. So yeah, I come across it in my work all the time.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah. So I choose to work with the men to help the men to stop.
Men are struggling. I really, listen, don't get me wrong, this is not an anti-female rant, nothing like that. But the point is that we are failing. If we fail half of our population, whether it's failing women or failing men, we are failing as a whole. And one of the problems, we were talking about gamma bias earlier. I don't know if you're familiar with gamma bias, which I'd only just come across. And it's basically this whole idea that when we see something positive about men, we feel the need to rush in with something negative. So if we see a headline which says, males are, in record numbers seeking counselling about overcoming violence, we rush in and say, but they are still the demographic who rapes the most, who does. So, and this doesn't help, does it?
Toxic masculinity, it's the buzzword, here in Australia anyway. Everything is toxic masculinity, and it's hard work. It's a hard industry to be in, is helping men to, not just break the cycle, but also to be able to stand up and say, I'm a good man. Actually, in one of our slogans in the Blue Wren Foundation is from a friend of mine, Michael, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago. And he said, and he filmed this as part of our documentary. And he says, I know I'm a good man, but I want to be a better man. And what a great statement.
Absolutely.
And if we all, and one could say, I know I'm a good human being, but I want to be a better human being. I mean, that's the next level, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got a comment
and
here
then it breaks the gender down,
I think it was Lugabug.
Oh my God, Sean, you and I pick the same comments all the time, mate.
I'm trying to scroll up to find it.
I know the one you mean. Is it, I don't tell myself to be a man, I tell myself to be the man.
Yes.
Yes, there you go.
You, Sonia.
That's lovely. And Drumstick says, people think, I think this is interesting as well, people think you're suspicious if you're too much in balance. They are programmed that way. I think that's a really, actually profound point.
Yeah.
They are, aren't they? They're a bit like, oh, you're too hippy dippy, or you must be really hiding the fact that you're a mass murderer behind all of this. You're in the zone and everything. So
don't be too happy. Don't be too happy.
Don't be too happy. Leave us with a positive note for the week, Adrian, please.
All right. A positive note is, well, Adrian's coming to Europe to run a tour. It's positive. Come and spend some time with Adrian. But, bring some brightness into your life, bring some light into your life, even if it's just a beautiful thing I love doing, my wife and I do. We go into a supermarket, we queue up at the pay, there's somebody behind us, and we pay our bill and we leave $5 or $10 behind, and we say, pay that off the next person's shopping bill. Oh. And the other thing we do, we call it Flower Week. We go and buy a bunch of flowers, and we just walk up to somebody random and we give them a bunch of flowers. And they go, you know what? This morning, this happened to me, or yesterday, this happened to me, and you've just made my day. So
I love it.
Go and do National Flower Day. We just tell them it's National Flower Day, and then we just walk away. We don't get into conversation.
Love that.
And I can guarantee you don't film it for social media.
No, absolutely, 100%.
Oh, 100%. Wow, amazing.
So there you go. Go and buy somebody a flower.
We love that. Craig says being a dad is the best job in the world. Wonderful. Zoe loves that. I love that too. Everybody, this is Adrian Hanks. We will put a link to Adrian's website in the description at the end of the live stream. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Adrian. God bless you.
It's always a pleasure. I love it. Thank you so much. Thanks, Fiona.
Lovely to meet you.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Good luck.
Oh, so lovely to see him.